My name is Chris Claremont. You're watching Omni X-Men.
Yeah, that's right. You are here watching some Omni X-Men. What is up, everybody? Justin here, aka No Good Comics. And tonight we're breaking down another issue from this bad boy right here, the New Mutants. I know we're the Omni X-Men, but as you guys know, if you've been following along, we are switching it up here, going with the New Mutants Omnibus here. We're breaking down the Marvel Graphic Novel issue number 4, highlighting the New Mutants for the first time. So really excited for this. I think I'm a little thrown off here because usually my hat is backwards, but the Yankees are on. They're in the playoffs. Very exciting. Not to make it sports related, John, but very excited, as you can tell. All right, I am gonna bring in my co-host here because we got to get this going. We have a long show tonight, so of course I am with my good friend and co-host John from John's Comics for Kids. John.
Oh, Catwoman, you minx.
Oh no.
Oh, wrong. Oh, sorry.
We're
wrong.
live. We're live.
Sorry, wrong on. But God damn it.
This is awful.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, oh, there it is. Hey.
I got it.
Hey, nice shirt, man. Nice shirt.
Hey, I live for Mutant Tuesday.
Is that Abercrombie? What is that?
It is. It's
That's
sharp.
Quality.
Yeah, it fits nice. The fit's nice. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm doing good. Pumped for another Omni X-Men. Technically, my first, breakdown show. So, been preparing, getting some gifts ready. My gift game is on. Yes, the gift game is on tonight. So be ready. So and of course, as I was just mentioning, I'm very excited. We always have a guest. I'm going to bring our guest on, another good friend of ours, a local guy to me. His name is Albert Loves Comics. Albert.
Oh, hey guys. I'm just so excited to talk about X-Men today. It's gonna be so great.
Hate to break it to you. I mean, we are talking about some X-Men related stuff, Albert, but little newer.
Mutants, though, right?
Yeah. Nothing against the old mutants, but
new ones.
Good to see you, man. Glad you're here.
Oh man, I'm thrilled to be here, guys. You were my favorite YouTubers. Or not even that, YouTube, all of social media. You two are my favorite. I was thinking about it. I was like, if I could meet any person in the comic book community, just hang out with them. Forget about Todd McFarlane. Forget about Scott Snyder.
Okay. Whoa.
It's you two.
You're the best, bro.
I'm also not joking. Just so you know.
This guy, I'll tell you, we just had our Comics Curing Cancer, and I want to again thank Albert for continuing to donate his time and artwork for that cause, because it's been amazing, and everybody who gets some of his pieces are just like blown away by how amazing they are. So huge thank you for continuing to do that, man.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's fun to do the sketchbooks. I know that it's a little cringy, Justin. I know that you some people are scared of it. They don't like to go to my Instagram and scroll through. No, I love doing it. I especially appreciate, John, what you do in terms of the fundraising. So being part of that, you're doing the hard work. I'm just in my little dungeon here, tapping away, cutting up books.
And you pay, and he covers the shipping too. He ships them out too. So he's awesome.
Amazing. And I did leave the Comics Curing Cancer link tree in the description below. So if anyone has time or wants to check that out to just learn more, go back and watch some of the replays, things of that nature. Obviously, that is ongoing. So.
And they're still, the fundraiser is all year. So it goes all the way into up to January 1st. And then they start a new link with a new amount for the next year. So you can still donate at any point.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some amazing people backing that. And I wish I was there this year around. So looking forward to just seeing what the community does from here with it. Well, I'm excited because, again, we are talking Marvel graphic novel issue number 4. Technically, I never read 1, 2, and 3, but this is an X-Men show. We're
good
here, so
don't worry.
We're jumping right to 4. Before we get started, I do want to remind everybody that we have trivia questions based on last last episode. So if you were not watching, we were on John's channel for the first breakdown. We broke down Marvel Team Up issue number 100, learning about Karma, first appearance of Karma, and even got some Fantastic Four and Spider-Man involved. So make sure you're ready for that. Stick around because you do have an opportunity to get your name on a prize wheel that we do at the very end of the season in June. And in order to do that, you have to answer questions. We look for correct answers or even funny ones. So even if you didn't see the episode or read the issue, you have a chance. So stick around. We'll explain more of the details later. I do want to shout out our featured artist of the year or of the season, Rosko, Geek Out with Rosko. I'll put his information in the description below. Rosko's been a great friend and a community member. If you guys don't already know him, please check him out. Go support him. Go support his artwork. He's agreed to work with us here on creating something amazing that we're going to be giving away for free. So that's what is part of the trivia. So another reason why you want to be on the wheel. So Rosko, we love you, brother. Thanks for everything you do. And then before we get into we got questions for Albert. We got a ton of fun stuff going on. Want to remind everybody to make sure you're following and subbed up to John if you're not already, because we will be back on his channel next Tuesday for the next issue of Omni X-Men. And then, of course, make sure you're subbed up and following Albert as well. Put his links in the description. Albert, always crushing it with all the content you're doing. And you're growing insanely, man. I love it.
Oh, my gosh. You're blown up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Yeah,
Starstruck.
It's fun.
All right. Let's say a quick hello to the chat. And we got Johnny Boy hanging out early. All right. I like it.
If you're not first, you're last.
That's true. We got another John, Big Daddy John in the house. What's going on, John Ross? Let's see. Old Wolf Tony says, I'm sorry I can't watch tonight, but please let Albert know I received his book that I won. And I want to say thank you and have a great show. Tony, appreciate you, brother. We love you. Let's see. We got Ryan Magic Lasso in the chat. Omni News. No, not. You're almost there. Right. He said, I wanted to say whoever scheduled the release of the new issue of Wonder Woman and the new issue of Dazzler for the same day. Yeah. That's perfect. Right. Yeah.
All the goodies. All the goodies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have our good friend Candace in the chat. Hello to you. As always, thanks for hanging out with us again. We got my boy Noah, aka Broke Boy Comics. He is very much a DC dude, and he is very much on board with the Marvel stuff we're getting into, the X-Men stuff. So appreciate you doing your homework, being committed, and another great guy. I got to hang out with him at Terrificon earlier this year. So good stuff there. Good to see you, Noah. We got Adam Make Stuff Up, as always, in the chat. Appreciate you, Adam. Hope you're doing well. We have our good friend Jackson Roy Kirk also hanging out with us tonight. Good evening, folks. Let's see. We got my man Conlin Comics hanging out in the chat as well. Gonna have him on the show later this year. Good to see you, brother. Let's see. We got my man Comics with Bueller. What's going on, Bueller? Hope everything's well, brother. I saw your post before. My thoughts and prayers with you. Absolutely. Good to see you. Thanks for swinging by. We appreciate it. Let's see. We got Rod the Rican and his comic station, brother. As always, good to see you. Also, make sure you're checking out Rod's stuff.
Rod's birthday's coming up on Thursday, by the way. So happy early birthday to Rod.
Nice. Setting the calendar. Let's see. And we got Kenneth Bird hanging out in the chat. Hello to you, sir. Mr. Kenneth Bird. Hello. All right, cool. Guys, remind everybody to smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to everybody here that you're looking at. And let's get into it. John, I'm going to pass it over to you. You want to kick it off with a few challenging, run Albert through the mill of some challenging questions?
We'll see what Albert knows or is interested in when it comes to New Mutants. Because Justin, this is all new to Justin. Yes. Me, I collected a ton of these when I was a kid, and I love New Mutants. I don't know how much you've read. I'm just curious, if you were going to pick a leader for the team, is it Professor X or is it Cable? Because they both had a ton of tenure with these young kiddos. What do you have a preference?
Wow, great question. So my experience with New Mutants is not very much. So I'm at the if this is a spectrum of knowing all of it. This is where I'm very close to there. So reading this today was I had a lot of fun because I was I don't know anything about these characters. I know I watched the animated show, so there was the Roberto.
Yep.
Or Berto, which people So he's my favorite immediately.
Nice.
So he should be the leader. No, I've read enough books with Professor X to know that I don't like his leadership style very much.
There you go.
So
you'll take anyone. You'll take anyone.
I mean, a lot of people. This obviously Cable's first appearance happens late in this run because this run's only 100 issues. And then it becomes X-Force as he starts to take the team in a more militant, I suppose, way. But yeah, I'm a Cable guy, so I respect. I mean, as much as I love Professor Xavier, and that's in air quotes, I'm a Cable guy all the way. So In your mind, though, now, because I know you've read some more modern X-Men stuff, some more recent stuff. Is there any one of these characters you're excited to see at the beginning now that you've seen a little bit maybe of them later on? You're like, oh, this is the start for that character.
Definitely Roberto, honestly. Like that character, I think is just interesting, being wealthy, being like his I mean, I don't know if it's a spoiler. It's a spoiler. But like the tragic incident that happens in the pages in his arms, it's just like wow, like I'm curious to see this person. Moonstar also very so interested. Cool. That her ability is one where I feel like it's super powerful, just to cause like psychic trauma on people. Just like, boom. So those two characters definitely the most interesting to me.
And for people that haven't read, like there's a bunch of great stuff with Storm and Roberto in like X-Men Red, and the later in sort of the end of the Hickman Krakoa era stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff with Roberto and Storm in that. So obviously I was reading that stuff. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then I guess lastly, do you feel like there's a character from this that you wish had been in the animated series? Obviously, the animated series 97 was so good, and there's a new season coming along here soon. Was there anybody that you're like, ooh, could we put them in?
Well, the animated show like has Morph, who is like the character who like shapeshifts. So it's kind of like, like what's her name? The blue skin girl.
Mystique.
Yep. And then also this other characters also shapeshifter. So I'm like, we don't need a third one. The more the merrier. You can ask me that question, but I don't think we needed her at all. The show has Moira. I love Moira. I think she's an interesting character, especially like the Hickman version of her being a psycho.
Yeah.
Kind of love that.
You say being a psycho? Is that what you said?
Yeah, she's a psycho now.
She did kind of derail. Oh my god! Yeah, see, this is a reader right there.
That was one where I was like, I'm gonna remember this.
Yes, she went full Lecter, full Hannibal. Yeah,
like 0 to 100. I'm just like, wow, I kind of get it.
Right?
Don't get it.
It's perfect for the Halloween season,
Yeah, exactly. It was a
Halloween. You could go as Banshee's face.
Very in theme.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Moonstar. That's a cool character.
I would pick the same one.
Yeah.
Nice. Good pick. Great questions, Johnny.
Awesome. All right, Justin, are we ready to dive into this?
Yeah, let's rock and roll. And Albert surviving these questions here. Again, reminder: put Albert's information in the description below. Make sure you're following him over on Instagram. I got to get your other links there, Albert, and I'll drop them in there later too. I know you're TikToking and everything else, so it's hard to keep up. All right, we are talking this book right here. So for those who don't know, and as Albert had the physical copy, this is more of a magazine size, so a bit larger than your average comic book, and one that I actually do not own a copy yet. Don't own a copy of this yet. So
well, maybe you'll get on the winner's wheel and win the copy because I'm giving one away at the end of the season.
John is
first print. A first print is in the giveaway, so those of you that get on the wheel,
I'm gonna rig it. I'm gonna rig. There you go. And look, he's already dropping. Roy Kirk's already dropping the line. We don't know the question is, but drop your answers. Let's see. Last was saying, welcome to the Omni New Mutants, Albert.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm honored.
Let's see, Justin. Will the printing matter to you? No, it won't. It will not. And evidently my slideshow is wrong because I thought there was only 4 and there's way more than 4. So
I have number 6.
Albert's,
I actually think it's more fun to go deeper into it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be fewer of them for sure.
Yeah. True. That's true. All right. Well, first and foremost then, and let me pull up my minimize this other little screen here. John, I'm a little rusty.
I know. I can tell.
You getting back into the groove of things. It's like, you got to minimize things. You got to shift some things around here. All right, let's and I forgot I got to move over to this. Yeah, okay, here we go. All right, let's get into the cover here. And of course, I want to put this one before we get into the splash page and everything. I like to just kind of put the details. Chris Claremont, of course, Bob McLeod, who I had just met again earlier this year at Terrificon. Both of them, great teamwork here. Very well known for this series. But I want to talk about the cover. John, I'm going to start with you. What are your initial thoughts when you see this cover, or even when you first saw this cover for the first time?
I mean, it's one of the simpler Marvel graphic novel covers. There's not a ton going on here. Obviously, you have the characters and then a very simple white background with a title. It works. It's fine. The art is very strong. Like there's no weak pieces as far as the artwork goes. It's not something that's like captivating for me personally. Obviously, for fans who are like, I don't know any of these characters, what's going on here, might be a real draw. You only recognize Xavier and he's got a whole new crew there. It's like, oh, well, this is a good jumping on point. I can learn a lot of new names and a lot of new powers. So, you know, I am a big fan of the Marvel graphic novel run, and I have a bunch of the different, issues in that series. And they're also, at least, Ryan would tell me there's some clunkers. They're not all great, but I do feel like the artwork especially is spectacular. It's like Marvel was kind of pushing itself in this sort of black label alternate brand kind of thing. So in that regard, it doesn't hold a candle really to a lot of the better covers. And it's not bad. It just feels kind of bland in some ways, I guess.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Albert, what about you? What are your thoughts on this cover as a whole?
I've always seen, like, I feel like it's like an iconic cover. Like, I think about it when I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the big one. That's like the big issue where like they're first appearing. So I've never really like looked at it as like, oh, it could be better. Just truthfully, from a comic cutting perspective, which I'm sorry I have to do it. If I were to cut this up, I'll tell you what I would do. I would eliminate the black border all over it, and that's where I would replace it with like word bubbles, and then everything on the inside would stay, even the title, because the title is pretty cool. Like, I like for cutting purposes, it's a really simple design. So like it really, like, it's already like the central part. This could have been smaller. It's almost like they originally did the artwork for a smaller issue, and they were like, "Oh, we have to make it for a bigger one. We'll just put a big ass black border around it." You know. So I guess to John's point, it doesn't seem like it was supposed to be this big, or it wasn't like it's not the most incredible thing ever. But I kind of like that it's simple.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I'm with you guys. I mean, it definitely, just from like a straight up art standpoint, and obviously compared to what I know comes along, or even the past, artwork that we've seen on other covers from X-Men stuff, certainly there's like something about it that's kind of missing, or I guess more or less the background, as you guys are mentioning. I do agree though that it's to me iconic. Like, you just kind of see it and you're like, yep, that's that. Like, no questions asked, no curiosity out of what's that from or anything. Like, you know. So
if I can add, when I think about the early issues of New Mutants, I only think of this one. I don't think of like number 2 or 3. Like, I know what they look like because I've seen them in the bins constantly.
Right.
But I don't. When I first think of New Mutants, it's always this one.
Yeah. Honestly, the rest to me even kind of blend together. I don't know, like, if I'm looking at an issue, I don't know if it's like a later issue or earlier issue. But this one, obviously, I know, where that stands. So good point. Quick hello to a few people in the chat. I saw my man Ryan hanging out. What is up, Colossus Collector? Gonna have him on I'm kicking off my Comic Collector Origins tomorrow night. He's gonna be my guest, so very excited for that, and excited to have Ryan all aboard. And yes, Ryan, I'm with you, man. The Marvel Unlimited, he said he's gonna be reading this season to be keeping up with us. And that for anyone who doesn't have the Omnibus or doesn't have access to all the issues, Marvel Unlimited is a fantastic way to follow along, not just with this, but all Marvel issues and series, if you're looking to get into more characters and stuff like that. So way to go there. Adam says it's surprisingly underwhelming. Yeah, fair. I think that's very fair comment. He says Ryan says, I think the cover to issue 1 is more iconic than this one, although I don't dislike it. Fair. That is fair. Let's see. And Ryan here says, I love the huge trade dress on the cover. Not sure why, but I just like this cover. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's very, very unique in that regard. I mean, obviously being the first for having those words up there too, especially. Candace also agreeing with Albert. This cover is recognizable for me, but this is my first time reading it. Yeah, and I'm with you too. First time reading it here too, Candace. Let's see. Skimming through here reminds him of a jam. Like a jam piece. That's a good point, Ryan. Could definitely see it as like a jam piece. Yes, you. Tell you we have other Ryans in the chat.
Anyway, there's dueling Ryans right now.
Yeah. GQ guy in the chat. What's going on, Mark? Welcome. Let's see. Rod, you should, man. The Omni it's a big one. Actually, Albert, I was going to ask you. You had owned one at one point, right?
I had like the 3 volumes. I let them go now.
That's right.
I'm stepping back from my big omnibus collection.
That's fair.
I go through waves. But it's a clunker. It's huge.
Definitely a big one.
Rod, you'd dig the Daredevil Omnis, especially the Bendis and Brubaker and Wade Omnis. They're a little smaller because they're like 2-volume sets, and they're awesome.
Up, right? Yeah. We got our man Steve Hip Hops and me. What's going on, brother? Good to see you. See, I would enjoy this cover more without Professor X weirdly there in the background. Yeah, I guess it is a little
always lurking. Always lurking.
And then Noah said, just realized Cannonball on the cover is in his uniform, and I don't think that
spoiler.
Sorry, yeah,
right.
Spoiler. That's a good point.
Yeah, and it's kind of a good thing though. Like it because you reading it, you know what's gonna happen. Right. So it's kind of like kind of changes the reading style.
Little hints. Yeah. All right, well, let's keep this going then. We'll get right into the splash page and really the miniature opening story here, because over the next couple of these panels that we're going to be going through, we get a little introduction to a lot of the different characters. So first we see Moira, who we were just talking about earlier, Moira McTaggart, who is screaming as that splash page of this wolf that's kind of leaping over her, but then you see the wolf turn into a human, a girl who's laying there. So from that, of course, you see all these madmen with pitchforks and torches chasing and claiming that they are trying to rescue or save her from the devil, and that she's possessed and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, Moira recognizes, obviously being connected to her mutant friends as she is, that hey, I think this is actually a mutant power, not something of the devil's work. So a little bit of a combat here definitely reminds me of Giant Size X-Men, kind of how we open with that one. For those who have read that, right, seeing the same fire and pitchforks and kind of a religious mixture in there with Nightcrawler. So totally. So and then of course Moira here kind of tells the guys off and takes her back to her lab. So I want to get your guys' thoughts, not just on the splash page, but also just this opening scene as a whole. John, I'll start with you. When you first turn this page, you see the splash page, what'd you think? And then obviously going into it, what are your thoughts?
I had forgotten that it started right here. So this was kind of fun to be a little bit surprised by where we jump right back into the this New Mutants universe. I love Moira. I think she's a great character, especially these early days. The renegade scientist character and the incredible. If you read, you can read Claremont and hear the accents. That's the cool thing about these the accents, the brogues that you're getting here. And I love that she's able to tell off a group of angry pitchfork wielding, just like carrying a naked teen over her shoulder. She's basically able to be like, stand down, and they're like, okay.
Yep.
They actually obey, which is, I mean, it's a testament to the status level that she has in this community, right? Mm-hmm. But also just the inner strength that she's got.
Yep. Yeah, well said. Candace says she looks a lot like Rachel Dinners. That's fair. Yeah, I can see that.
Claremont likes his redheads.
That's right. And Roy Kirk said that McLeod did a wonderful job. Yeah, agreed. Albert, what about you? What were your thoughts here on these opening scenes with Rance and Claire?
Yeah, I agree with the people in the comments that the artwork really, like, I loved it immediately. I was like, ooh, nice. Like, I hope this sustains for the whole thing, like the quality. Because like in this format, like it being oversized and large, it was really pleasing to like visually see. Jumping right into with an action scene, I think is always like really exciting in comics. And right after this, they showcase all these other different like characters, and I immediately make the connection to Giant Size X-Men and how they're going to be doing a bunch of different like showcases, which is fun, and it's doing it in a pleasant way. In this part, there's a line where she says, "Oh, I delivered her years ago," and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, was she like I delivered her as a baby?
Yeah.
Which then I'm like, how old is Moira? She did not look very old in that. And then it was like 14 years ago. Like,
only the teenagers are allowed to age. That's it. Xavier and Magneto are just as shredded and ripped as they've ever been.
Exactly. So no, I thought this was a great start for the book for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Well, let's keep it going. Next up, as we mentioned, we have different story modes. You get Roberto for the first time, and I know that Albert, you were just talking about Roberto here. So he's where is he? It takes place in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil. There's soccer, and of course, some of the other boys are really picking on him for being different. I think they called him a half. half-breed at one point, and then like kind of fouled him, gave him a cheap shot. You know, and then of course he kind of retaliates, and they call, you know, a foul on him, and then after that the boys just kind of gang up, and the one starts beating on him, and then we see the true colors of the abilities that Roberto. I keep wanting to say Alberto because Albert's on. If I say it, I apologize. But that Roberto,
okay, you can call him Alberto.
That Roberto, it keeps, you know, it turns into this kind of just solid black, you know, being like a shadow almost. Can't tell kind of what's going on. This light that's kind of you know, surrounding him essentially, and then the crowd goes crazy. People go running out. I should also clarify, he does have his girlfriend who's in the crowd, his father, who they were rooting for him, and then of course all this stuff happens. The girlfriend Juliana, she comes running out, catches him as he, you know, gets worn out essentially from this whole thing, and then of course the scene ends with what I look. I just put this GIF here because you know, you get a little hint. I recognize the hands. I recognize that reddish pink wrist.
It's groovy, man.
And it's groovy, baby. Yeah, it's totally that. So you know, again, at this moment, we don't know who it is, but I think it's awesome power. So that, you know, just so we get this hand that basically is spying on Roberto, and basically says like, you know, oh, this would be good for what I'm looking for, you know, and that's all we really get from this. So, Albert, I'm going to pass to you first. What are your thoughts here on your boy Roberto?
Yeah, I think this is awesome. I like I think that what Claremont does beautifully is he hits on the head. Hey, there's racism in this story, like, you know, that Brazilians deal with. And because when I first read it, I was like, oh, this white guy knows that he's a mutant, but it's not related to him being a mutant. He's surprised when he finds out.
Great point.
So like it hits on the head, like, hey, when you're reading X-Men, it's like interchangeable for racism, for sexism, for ableism, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's like, I think that's a really good way to set the tone for the story. I also was impressed that Roberto was performing in front of tens of thousands of people. There's a line there it says that, so I'm like, oh, this guy's not just like athletic; he's a superstar.
Yeah.
So, but
don't they say it's like Division II soccer? Like it's like very high up, like soccer level of soccer.
Yeah. I mean, it's Brazil, so you know,
it's football,
like,
no joke.
Yeah, no joke. But the art style, like there was moments where you could see like his dad's face in the crowd. I'm like, damn, that's detailed. Like, that's great. So this is great. I love this part.
Yep, awesome. Real quick, John, before I pass to you, Roy Kirk made a great point earlier.
Thank
Says
you.
They're all obviously seen more with an AK-47 before. Missed that earlier, Jackson Roy Kirk.
Yeah, phenomenal shout out to her first appearance. As amazing as only Jackson Roy Kirk can do. That's maybe the comment of the night. I was gonna call it out if you didn't do it. So
So go ahead, John. What'd you think about this opening scene of Roberto? You know, us meeting him for the first time, and obviously Austin Powers coming in.
I think Albert hit it on the nail on the head as far as the function of racism in X-Men comics. Obviously, that's a big tool that Claremont wields a lot and effectively nails it here. God Loves Man Kills has a similar discussion around racism, and we see those children getting strung up in the first few pages of God Loves Man Kills, another one of the graphic novels that Marvel did at the same time. And I think in both cases, what you get is an instant understanding of where that character is at, instant sympathy for what that character is going through. And it grounds a superhero comic in a real powerful reality. So I dug that function right off the bat. Also, super loyal girlfriend.
Real
shout out to another awesome X-Men related girlfriend running down through the hooligan crowd all the way onto the pitch and then running across and holding him, even though he looks so bizarre and potentially dangerous because he hurls that other football player across the pitch to almost to the other side of the field. All phenomenal. And maybe I'm just too jaded by the Hellfire Club at this point and their bizarre gala, their gear, just their bizarre gear. There's another guy who wears frilly undershirts and purple, jackets. Like it's just normal, right? Claremont and his art team have normalized the bizarre nature of the Hellfire Club, and so it doesn't even faze me anymore. I'm like, I don't know who it's gonna be. I don't know which Hellfire Club member it's gonna be, but it's just the everyday wear, right? This is the normal. You'd see that guy walking down the street in New York, right?
Very casual. Yes, yeah. Yes, very casual. Roy Kirk, good point here. Foreshadowing for Juliana holding Roberto for those who had read on.
Good catch.
Yeah, definitely some foreshadowing there for sure. I want to say a quick hello to Mike from Mike's Total Dragon channel. What's going on? He says, I remember buying this at Walden Books. Yes, I remember Walden Books. And can't disagree. Yeah, loved Walden Books. Yeah,
for sure.
A lot of them kind of, shut down after a while there. All right, let's keep it going because we got a few more intros to do here. So of course we get Sam Guthrie being introduced, working at a coal mine. He's with a bunch of other men who are about to go into this coal mine, and where are they? Kentucky, I think, right? Yeah, Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
And they're having this discussion. We learn a little bit more about Sam, the fact that his father had just passed away, and not only that, but because of that, Sam having to take care of the family now is going to work here and putting his time into here, and not necessarily being able to live out his dreams. He has a little bit more of a deeper conversation with one of the gentlemen there, as he's kind of making friends, people that recognize him from his father. But just interesting to know that was kind of a little bit of a background of him without even getting too much into it. Of course, as they're going under the coal mine, things start to erupt and everything starts to collapse. Everybody escapes except for Sam and his buddy, the guy he was talking with. And when everything looks really bad and grim, he is able to use his mutant powers and blast him and his friend out of the coal mine, collapse and land outside of it. And everybody gets a little freaked out. Sam's not quite sure what happened or how to explain it. He seems okay. Which is another question, at least as of right now. Like, we don't know how his powers work exactly, but he seems fine, even though he went through all this rubble and everything else, and he was able to protect the guy that he brought with him and stand back up. Meanwhile, we get some more potential Austin Powers showing up there in the corner, noticing and also clarifying that it's a little bit closer to him and that maybe this is one of the first newer mutants that he's going to be going after, whoever this Austin Powers guy is. So, John, going to pass it over to you. What do you think about the introduction to Sam Guthrie?
I mean, I mentioned in the kickoff show, I'm a Sam fan. I really like I like him better as the somewhat bland, flawed leader in the same way Scott Summers fulfills that role early on in the X-Men. Something about Sam as the guy who will do what needs to get done. And, I think he doesn't always have the right answer, but he's not going to shy away from hard work. And you see it all. It's beautifully rendered here on these pages. Somebody who is in the midst of a heartbreaking tragedy, lost his dad super young, lost his chance to go to college and the life he had maybe planned to live, and isn't complaining about it, isn't whining about it. Instead, he's like, no, maybe my sister will get to go instead of me, and I'm going to go do what needs to get done because I'm the oldest in the house now. And the work needs to get done.
Yeah. And
here he is. And then his first instinct when everybody else is fleeing the collapsing mine isn't, I got to get out of here. It's, I'm going to save Frank. Like, Frank's going to get left behind. I got to go back for him. Yeah. Even though I have no clue how I'm going to do it, I'm going to go for it. And so there's a lot of great heroic moments early here for Sam.
Yeah. Well said. Albert, anything to add here with kind of the introduction to our boy Sam Guthrie and a little bit more of his background?
I mean, he's a hero. It's very clear. Like John was saying, and I mean, I've been reading a lot of like historical fiction, and I think one of the fascinating viewpoints on like welfare is that it's like a shameful thing to take. In the past, like that was like a very common mentality for a lot of really poor people who needed to like get the government support. And he signaled in here that his mother refused to take welfare, which for me just reminded me a lot of like, this man is representing a group of Americans who are very proud of their work ethic. So like John was saying, like, you can tell a lot about his character just from like what his actions were during a crisis, what family he comes from in the mentality. And like, he dropped going to college and he's really looking to be like the man of the house. So this only makes this character like really lovable.
Yeah, man. Really great points. Yeah, great points here, indeed. And I love that we're getting all this. And again, for each of these characters so far in just a few pages, I think they do a really good job overall. Literally 3 pages each, I think, so far is what we got through. So, well said.
Which you both highlighted is akin to what they did so well with Giant Size X-Men. And so there's a lot of great comparisons to those 2 books that I think it's wonderful you guys brought that up so early.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, we have a bit of a sing off here.
Yeah,
Adam and Roy Kirk going at it. I love it.
Well, and I think everybody's surprised Magic Lasso's not throwing out the the musical notes here.
I'm sure he's working something up.
Okay.
All right, let's keep it going then. Next up, we're in what they call it the town of Sundance, Colorado, and this is where we meet Danny Moonstar for the first time, who seems to be meditating. She has a pet friend with her, this cat who Ridge Runner. And just seeing like kind of the humbleness and love that she has for Mother Nature and animals and how calm and relaxed she seems, and then of course she gets kind of creeped up on by her grandfather Black Eagle, who comes up and is trying to warn her that she needs to move on and get out of these mountains and essentially go train. And she, as he mentions kind of this teacher and who she's going with, she kind of freaks out and is not happy with the idea of her being trained by a white man, as she says, a white. And so again, as we've already kind of talked about, there are some much heavier subjects that go on throughout this book, and we're going to continue to see that. Of course, as they are getting into this argument, she gets so fired up that she ends up having these visuals, as you can see in the top middle panel there, the page. And at this point, we're not quite sure what that is. It's like it's almost like a pencil drawing or sketch that they clearly can see. It's in front of them, and they're not sure what it is yet. But they both kind of freak out. She apologizes and kind of has this like dream. Meanwhile, we do get another glimpse, and we finally see it's actually unfortunate. It's not Austin Powers that's there, but it is Donald Pierce. Yeah, good old Donald Pierce, who we know very well from reading in these past few X-Men seasons, learning about the Hellfire Club. So we do know also that he's part robot. So there's some trickery to him. He's not your average Joe. So something to be aware of. But he again continuing to spy on all of these mutants and having a power. And then we also find out that he actually captured Tessa, who was like the right hand over at Hellfire Club, at the Hellfire Club. So we see her like tied up there, and he's kind of revealing a little bit more of his plans, what he wants to do to kind of overthrow Sebastian Shaw, take the club for what it is as his own, and go from there. So meanwhile, we go back and we see Danny having a dream. She wakes up finally in the middle of the night, and quickly she's screaming grandfather. She goes to him, finds out that he actually did die that very night after having the argument with him, and him telling her that that she has to go train and learn how to control her powers with Professor X and everything else. Unfortunately, they kind of left on this bad note, and she's now realizing that what she had witnessed in these drawings that we kind of reference, or these visuals I should say, was really something that actually happened. So she is now set for revenge on finding out whoever this was and planning to take them out. So a lot of mixed feelings here. Albert, I'm going to throw it to you first. What are your thoughts here about our girl, Danny Moonstar?
Well, of the entire issue, I was like, there's people with powers transforming into black matter. I'm like, the most unrealistic part is her hugging a mountain lion like that. Like, that's absurd. That's absurd. I would be so terrified of that. Like, oh my god, I watched
so
that.
Good.
This is crazy.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah, but obviously she's a beast. She can talk. She can connect with animals like that. No, I mean this was brand new character for me. I'm just like, man, this is so interesting. She's so angry, and that anger part. I'm thinking about like other characters in Giant Size X-Men. I can't help it. Who are also extremely angry.
Yeah.
Totally true.
But no,
and Native American.
The only thing I wished, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I only wished that there was more of the grandpa, because I'm like, I was really curious about like what he's all about. But yeah, this was great. I don't really have much more to add. Oh, actually, one thing I will add. Yeah. So Pierce, I'm like, wait a minute, like he's really like trying to capture the like he's trying to take over. I think the Hellfire Club they're probably good people now. Like part of me was like, are they good now? Like are they heroes? Like why are we?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I'm upset that he's like capturing these people. So.
Right. No, great points. John, what about you? What were your initial thoughts here after learning a little bit more about Danny Moonstar?
I mean, at this point, my biggest questions are like the Hellfire Club clearly has a superior technology to Cerebro at this point. They're like, he's finding these people just like click of a button, like, oh, here's one over here, and I got one over here. It's like whatever device he's crafted is an impressive technology that we're going to need later in comics because this guy's just like hitting some buttons and he's found a whole new squad. And so I'm impressed by that tech the longer we go along in the story. Danny, I think, is an interesting character, and obviously there are a lot of connections to what Claremont.
What do you think he was going to say?
I don't know what Claremont wrote.
I think he was going to say what Claremont did with Wolverine.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. We lost him a little bit once before, and I thought it was me.
No, I lost him too for a little bit. Yeah,
he's gone. Yeah. All right. Oh, there he is. There you are. We see you, John.
I mean, I'm here. I don't know what's going on.
It's all
right. Can you hear me? Am I doing all right there?
You're good.
So what I liked was the way he brings culture to comic fans. Like, you know, that these, it's not common to have Native Americans or Brazilians show up in your comics at this age. You know, I think this is impressive that his desire was always like, let's expand the palette here a little bit. There's a lot of colors to paint with. We don't always have to paint with the same ones. And I think it adds levels of interest to the story when you have a diversity of character. And I think this is, when you're creating a team, why not go that route? And I think it works yet again here, I think, in really nice ways.
Yeah, no, well said. Couple comments here. Noah says, man, after reading this, I also understand why Chris Claremont is so popular. Did a fantastic job writing this entire story. Yeah, definitely with you there. Mike also adding in there, Claremont checks off many boxes here. So many of his writing trademarks are on display. Absolutely. Roy Kirk agreeing as well. Claremont outdid himself with this graphic novel. For sure he did. Let's see. GQ, appreciate it. Great conversation. I agree. Yeah, we lost him just for 3 seconds, 5 seconds. We were trying to guess what John was thinking there. But yeah,
no, it was not Wolverine. I was not going to go to Wolverine.
That's what we thought maybe that was.
I heard Albert. I do agree. Lasso. Yeah, all these characters far superior to Sunfire. We're not getting any. Get that guy out of here.
Yeah. Ricker says, mind you, when Wayne did this with Giant Size X-Men 1, but yes, Claremont did it as well. Yeah, good point. It was Lane Wayne on that first one. All right, let's keep it going. So next up, there's a lot of dialogue here, so I'm gonna run through a lot of it. I wanted to make sure to cover because I do think there's some key obviously some key points or moments to the story.
So dramatic.
So we flash forward to Charles Xavier back at the school. He is currently with Shan, who we had met, Karma from earlier from Marvel Team Up, and then Rand as well. And again, I'm really trying to get familiar with these names. A lot of them are very new to me still. But doing my best.
I think it's supposed to be Rain.
Oh, is it Rain? Oh, okay.
Rain. I think it's supposed to be pronounced right. But I mean, legitimately, they're very odd spellings. So there is no right and wrong until you see somebody say it in a movie or something.
True. I'll go with Rain. I like Rain. And then of course Moira too. So they're all back, doing all these tests, trying to figure out how things work with Shan and her powers, and Professor X, even saying, all right, I think I'm going to need to see an example, a demonstration, if you will. So, they're like, who are we going to do it on? And Moira's like, oh, me, like, hit me up. Let me, and like mid-sentence as she's talking, she's like, boom, like hits her and just loses all. And then Rain just freaks out because she's like, what's happening here? Like, there's so much that happens in that little, the panels near Albert to his left is
so good.
Yeah. So, and of course we see a little bit more of that pink mind travel or control that we kind of had seen set up in the Marvel Team Up. So in case people did miss that, I like that they're giving you a little taste again on kind of what that looks like. The pink, the mind to mind connection. And then so everything kind of calms down afterwards because she's trying to use Moira to talk to Rain and say, calm down, it's just me. And she's not, not really picking it up, which also shows that they're kids, that it's natural. Like they're scared. They don't know what is happening or even to their own bodies or what have you. So I think it captures a very real moment in that regard. And then meanwhile, going into kind of the second set of pages here, you get a little bit more discussion about it's a little bit of a catch up for Shan, explaining a little bit more what we learned in Marvel Team Up. So I won't get into that, but she does kind of catch up with the rest of the team, mentions her brother and the rest of her family, and what had happened. She kind of just dismisses it and says he died, talking about trans. So, and then from there, we get a little bit more discussion of Moira going back and forth with Professor X, who is having a hard time because this is currently taking place during X-Men 161, which we had broken down last season, which is part of the Brood saga. Is that last season, John? 2 seasons ago.
Two seasons ago. Yeah.
Wow. So it's good to know that this is kind of happening. Yes, there you go. During that issue right there. Love it. And yeah, like that, the team had disappeared. They had been captured by the Brood at that point, and Professor X being out of his control, not sure what's happening. He's very upset that this is, like the 20th time that he's lost his team and thinking that they're dead, to one reason or another. And now he's questioning, should I be doing it here with these kids, or is it my place, or should I stop? And Moira is making some really good points as to why he should continue onward in honoring those who, yes, because they did lose some X-Men, or one particular X-Men, in earlier issues during this time. And so saying that, by not doing that, you're not doing a service to them and everything that you had already started in helping them. So, a bit of an introduction or interesting back and forth and just seeing the struggles that he has there. But Moira kind of keeping him on pace. And then, of course, closes out. We get the doorbell ringing, and it turns out to be a letter from Colorado, a special delivery. They decide that they're going to go out and see, who this is from, or he knows who it's from, but wants to go visit their friend, Black Eagle. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I feel like I missed one key issue or moment, but I'm going to pass it on. So John, what are your there's a lot of little bits to cover here, but again, not wanting to miss a beat here. Yeah. What are your thoughts on some of this stuff, or what stood out to you most, I guess?
I mean, sad sack Xavier is hard to ignore. I mean, there's a lot of this like holding head in hands and just like looking like, oh, what do I do? And understandably, he's in a period in time when he legitimately feels like he's a complete failure at this, which, let's be honest, is not inaccurate. He's a jerk, so. He lost a lot of teams, lost a lot of people, and then thankfully he usually finds them again. It just takes some time. But yeah, he's in that malaise, that depression, a little bit, and dealing with feeling regret for pulling young kids onto a battlefield in a lot of ways. And so I like that he is questioning this, the hero rejecting the call, right? And I think so there's some of those moments that I can really get into and appreciate. I also like the way in which we're finally back to a time when characters don't know how their powers work, which is an interesting period that is never long enough. I think it's always an interesting time to see someone gaining skill versus someone who's mastered skill. At some point you're like, okay, I've seen Superman, there's nothing he can't do, the guy's just unstoppable, right? Versus like Superboy learning how to master skill is kind of interesting, and I think that's the joy we're gonna get as these characters are young and coming to power.
Absolutely, well said. Albert, what about you? What were your thoughts here, or any favorite moments as we're going through and seeing a bit more of the interactions with these characters?
Well, in terms of artwork, that second panel where they're in this looks like they're in mission control room where there's going to be putting
operations.
That looks so cool. And like on the paper, it's half a page. I mean, it's a pretty good chunk dedicated to just like showcasing that art. Yeah. And I thought that was like really cool looking. Like I'm imagining in my mind, but like in the 1950s. And the showcase of her powers, I thought I was still like, I wonder how that's going to actually come into play. So I was still left a little bit like, I wonder how that's going to look. That doesn't seem like the coolest thing yet. And I ended up being one of my favorite powers. I think it was like one of the coolest ones. I truthfully, a lot of word bubbles, a lot of reading on this one. And I was like, this is a little slow. Like I was reading and I was like, I'm still on this page.
Like, they all look the same, right? All the pages kind of look the same. Did I just reread this page?
So in the whole book, I probably thought the flow of this one was the weakest. It just felt like I wasn't really making progress.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. Definitely a lot of those sad faces of Professor X and kind of just brings you down. And I know for me, as I was, reading digitally and swiping through, it's just like another big, word bubble. Like, oh my gosh, and it's just these three characters. I'm like, what are they talking about? These four characters going back and forth. But no, you're right. And but definitely, some revealing things here. again, as John highlighted, I do like seeing kind of the struggles that Professor X is going through, and we see that throughout comics with him, right? And his questioning himself and what he stands for and what he does, and even the new stuff. So,
if I could throw in, like, a lot of the conversation is done with the mind speak bubble.
Oh yeah, good point.
It was kind of like hard to keep track of, just truthfully.
That's fair.
Like,
yeah.
Like, who is he? Is he talking to the whole group? No, he's just talking to Moira. And it's like,
yep.
You know, again, in terms of flow, it wasn't the best way to lay out a storytelling, in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely moments where I had to kind of even just reread that panel, just be like, wait, it's out of context, or why is he saying this in front of the girls, kind of thing, and then realizing, it's not. So, you're not alone there. All right, so let's keep it going. Then we flash forward. Now it's a day later after they've all kind of discussed that they're going to Colorado for this letter that they got from Black Eagle, and of course him wanting to have Professor X train his granddaughter and teach her how to use her powers, because they're very much not sure how to control them at the moment. And then I had a lot of fun with this one. So unfortunately they get there and they're too late. They see that unfortunately he's passed away. And with that, they immediately get what looks to be attacks. You see all these helicopters coming through, a bunch of machine guns and army men, shooting in the background from Vietnam is what it kind of explains. And then Shan screaming out of nowhere, but then a real explosion happens right after that. So a lot happens just within like these 3 or 4 panels before we even get to, gathering what actually is happening now. So at first you're like, oh, okay, it's probably just, Moonstar doing her thing, and it was to a degree, but then the explosion was real. And it turns out that it's these new pink and purple robots that we haven't quite seen yet. They're kind of robotic, kind of human. And we even get to see Ridge Runner jump in there. This is a very sad moment. Ridge Runner trying to save the team or help them out, and is immediately tossed off of this cliff here and to her death, which is very sad. And these guys just talking trash. He's like, yeah, like you're next, Muty Mistress and yada yada, and grabs Danny's even realizing like, oh, I thought that they, Professor X and all them, she thought they were with this other group, and because she was initially kind of playing a prank, or not playing a prank, but scaring them. And then this is one thing I think was really cool. We get to see how the team starts to use their abilities in controlling some of the others to take over these humanly robotic characters that we see here. So I guess they are human, right? They're just
they're like in mech suit kind of
things. Like a mech, right. And then from there we get what was it? They finally take them out. She's starting to realize who they are. They have a little bit more of a detailed discussion, but of course, Danny wants to have revenge. She has a knife. She wants to actually kill them. Get her.
She gonna stab somebody.
Yeah, she's ready to go, because these are what she visualized in her nightmare, her dream, which we're learning is part of her ability now, right? She's able to like pull things that people have either seen or are scared of, nightmares, from people's minds, and that's what we're starting to learn about her abilities. And with that, Professor X talks her down from it. He actually like controls her. Her hands like trying to stab, and she ends up being held, which Professor X doesn't do very often, but so he was able to do that. Gonna pass it to you, Albert. What are your thoughts here? We get right back into the action. I know last couple panels were a little slower, but going to see Black Eagle.
The action's here now. I thought the pink / purple suits, fire design.
Oh yes,
that decision pops, and like I'm like, I want to cosplay as that. That's so cool. Please do. Yeah, and seeing Moonstar angry, I'm like, this is Wolverine. This is the Wolverine of the group. Like he's just like super angry. And like she hates white people. Like I'm like, I know a lot of people like this, like just angry and hates white people and wants to fight all these people. I love the action here. I wanted to see more of it. It's really good.
Yeah, well said. John, what about you here? What were your thoughts as we pick up a little bit more the story?
I think obviously the stakes jump, right? We've got dramatic backstories for characters. We've got tragic present moment things occurring, and then throw in the pink baddies, and it's all just happening. Now this is an X book, right? Now this is happening.
Yep, absolutely. Mr. Novel per issue, Claremont was restrained on this issue. All right, well let's keep it going here, because
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a knife. Sorry, I realized I didn't have that in that panel set there. But yeah, there's the knife that we're referring to. Her kind of being held back. And then we kind of move forward with them going to Rio de Janeiro for trying to find Roberto. Moira puts a call in because she's actually searching for them, and I guess these are like the police officers or whoever that were there to thinking that they were the one that she was involved with actually taking Roberto or having more information. So they arrest them, and as they come out again, we kind of get to see some cool displays of Shan using her powers, Danny using her powers to kind of get out of some of this stuff. Moira agrees, so she says, "You guys go. I'll actually go." Try to clear things up at the police station. But you guys, escape, get out of here, and try to find Roberto. And so they kind of run off into the crowd here with this. And I'm gonna just jump. Actually, we'll stop here for a sec because it kind of goes into a couple of panels in the next one. But anything to add here? I know I covered the knife part here a little bit, but John, anything else to add here as we again see kind of a little bit more display of the girls, the arresting here or the attempt arrest here as we learn with what's going on with Roberto.
I mean, I think you see obviously Danny deciding that I do need Xavier a little bit, depending on how dramatic this ends up getting. Yeah. And you get a sense of Roberto's father's influence, right? The power that he might wield in Brazil.
Great point.
And how quickly he's got official government representatives there to protect his son and to enforce a law. So he's clearly paid up with the right people, or at least connected to the right people to be a real influence there. Much like in the 97 show, we got to see the wealth and power of the DaCosta family and kind of what that looks like.
Yeah.
And if I could add too, I think these 2 pages here, the first 2, they really highlight that the X-Men, or at least Moira and Xavier, are really big believers in the justice system in some way, right? So with not stabbing the person, hey, whatever small level of justice, we're gonna fight for it. Moira saying I didn't do anything wrong. It's okay, let them arrest me. That is something that happens throughout all X-Men. And I think for these new characters, seeing this I know I'm not just, it's not something I just believe. This is me demonstrating that belief in real life. Yeah, I think those 2 pages kind of showcase that.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Hey, Roy Kirk says, I want to see when Moira returns to visit the detective who slapped her. Yeah, that was ooh, did not like that moment there.
She's going to visit the armory first.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're lucky that they're not back home. Yeah, very very brutal there. All right, well, let's keep it going because we do now see Roberto and the girls do find him as he's jumping over this fence, running over to meet at this kind of like a shed of some sort, and is quickly Juliana meeting up with Juliana, and quickly is ambushed by the dudes in red, as we are very familiar with from Emma Frost and the Hellfire Gala or the Hellfire Club. Her goons, right? Her goons who are seems that they're being paid to capture Roberto and take the 2 of them, and they don't care about the money. It's about bloodshed. They're being very rough with the 2 of them, and of course we now get to see Roberto kind of light it up again, similar to what we saw in the field, and he just starts throwing dudes, and they're not quite ready for it, not expecting it, but they do have some tricks of their own up their sleeves where they're able to actually fight back a little bit, and then they have that one scene where he ended up pulling the gun to his head there. And I think, I'm gonna jump into these next set of slides because this all kind of goes together here, and then I'll go back and you guys can kind of highlight what you want. But yeah, then right as he pulls the gun to his head, the girls, they chime in. Shan ends up using her abilities, takes over the one. Meanwhile, love seeing Danny bringing out what these guys are scared of most, and of course is Wolverine. Of course, they're still haunted by this nightmare of what they had experienced from the days of was it, I guess issue 135, 134 when we had first read that, and him having his solo issue Wolverine for the Dark Phoenix saga. So a lot of stuff happening in this particular issue, or in this particular set of scenes here, and then finally, as the fight continues to break out, the girls try to save him, Roberto doesn't know what's happening, so he ends up decking Shan, knocks her down, which then releases the thought of the one guy who then picks up a gun and realizes what he's doing. He's wondering like, how did I go over here? Questioning things, but he picks up a gun, starts shooting, and then Juliana jumps in front of Roberto, pushes him out of the way, and unfortunately gets shot. Danny gets right back on top of him, she does, fearing with the Wolverine visuals, and this guy's cowering in the corner, as you can see in that far set of panels. But at this point, very emotional moments where we learn that Juliana dies. She got shot trying to save the man that she loves, and we only knew her for this issue, but she actually dies in this whole thing. So it's very emotional. And then of course Roberto's like just as furious and angry as Danny is, and wants revenge and is ready to do whatever it takes. And they're like, hey, let's team up because that's what we're I'm here to do the same thing. So they're kind of in the same page, but for the wrong, not the right reason, or not in the right, I should say. So John, I'm going to throw it to you first. I know we had covered a lot of these panels here, a lot of action scenes, but what are your thoughts here on just some of the things that I just went over here?
I like seeing the powers wax and wane, right? This is not a skilled team that knows how to work with each other. Instead, they're just all kind of acting independently. Their strength fails them from time to time. Their ability gets knocked out of whack because of what's happening around them. There's a lot of great examples of components that could make a good team, but there's no coach, right? So there's no element of like teamwork happening here, and that's ultimately what's causing them to consistently have failure.
No, it's a really good point. No leader yet here. Albert, anything to add? Obviously a ton of things going on here, more action as we love, but again, as John mentioned, seeing the display of their abilities and having it work, right, at least to some degree.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the first time that they're actually working. They're doing their powers in the same room, right? So it's like, it's fun for me. I'm just like, I can get a sense of like how this team is going to interact and work together.
Yeah.
Because like like John's saying, like they're not doing it well, but you finally get that sense of like, I can see where this is going, right? Yeah. And just for me as like as a comic book fan, seeing these red characters, like I was like, I know them. I know those people. Like this is from way back, right?
Yeah.
Like a new reader doesn't necessarily need to know any of this backstory, but it's a reward. It's like a little treat for the fans of X-Men.
Totally. Yeah, nice little payoff for sure. Yeah, agreed. Well, let's keep it going here because we do jump back to Kentucky when they're traveling back here, and big explosion. Professor X driving with Rain, and they get bombed kind of by Sam, or Cannonball, as we're kind of known him at this point. And but it's weird enough. Turns out, one, I should say, he wakes up. Rain is like freaking out. She turns into a wolf, immediately runs off to the side to kind of hide it first, and then notices that bomb that went off ended up being a boy who is now dragging Professor X and is helping. So she's a little like confused, like, oh wait, did he just hurt us, but he's helping us? Is he a good guy, bad guy? And then a helicopter comes through, and it's a bunch more of the goons, as we can see how they're dressed up. But we do notice that Sam is also dressed up as one of them, kind of questioning, clearly now finding out that he is working with Donald Pierce, which we didn't really get to see visually. They didn't really show that, other than Donald just kind of planning it out. He's one of the first people I'm going to kind of go after. I can use his abilities, kind of thing. So I like that they kind of did that without having to necessarily show that. But yeah, so sure enough, he is here working for the wrong side at the moment, even though he is a mutant. And meanwhile, Rain sees that and recognizes it, and a little bit confused because she knows, that they don't like mutants. So she's wondering why he's doing that. Meanwhile, she realizes she has to get to Professor X. She realizes that she can smell their scent, even though the helicopter kind of took off with him. So she follows it, tracks it down. Really cool abilities that she has, very much Wolverine-esque, right? That's the abilities that she has. And then she's jumping through these fences here. And before I go any further, I'm going to throw it to Albert here. Albert, what do you think about kind of this explosion, it being Sam, and Rain being a little confused as to kind of what's going on?
Well, I was actually surprised. I was like, he's on the wrong side. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And again, like we're adults. We know what this is the same guy in the cover,
He's got the wrong uniform on.
Wait a second.
It's far enough. So I still like, everybody likes rom-coms because what's going to happen. You just want to see how it happens.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, ooh, I want to see how this happens.
Yeah.
How does he flip sides? What gets him to that other point? I already like him. I already like this character from before, from what he's been like. So that's I'm hooked in now. I'm hooked and I want to keep going to the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. John, did you think about, I mean, kind of what I said, like I know we talked a little bit, each character kind of resembles certain aspects of the old new team of X-Men. And I highlighted, you know, Rain having this ability to kind of track and find things based on her scents and smells. And I bring up Wolverine. Like, what do you think of this when you see her immediately being able to kind of track down and jump over these fences and everything else that she does?
I mean, it's definitely got some Wolverine qualities, but much younger, obviously, because Wolverine, even when we've met him up to now in the comics, we've never seen a young Wolverine. Like, it's just not a thing. You know, he's always been an old man. Mm-hmm. But here we get to see the youthful Rain. She's often startled and scared, kind of like a dog that's that's been abused or something. You just see that element of, you know, quick reaction emotionally. But then I love those panels of her transformation and her, I'm halfway between a dog and a human, because it helps me clear these fences and not have the dogs be mad at me. They're going to be scared of me because I'm a bigger apex predator than them. I love the use of her logic and how to get through this problem.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. The artwork, definitely loved how that was done panel to panel there. Jumping over the fence, especially. All right, well, let's keep it going because we're getting a bit towards the end here. A lot happens though. So we see Rain crawling up into the top ceiling. I love, you can see her perspective, and then you can kind of see the perspective of Professor X there. Meanwhile, it's Donald Pierce who is revealing himself, telling Professor X, hey, remember me? I dealt with your team earlier in the year, or earlier in past issues. And Professor X is all wrapped up and has this, what he's called a mind trap, kind of tied him in so he can't actually use his abilities. So you see all the goons kind of standing around, and they kind of wake him up from there. He does reveal his plan, that he basically wants to take all the data that Professor X has, and apply it to everything he's trying to do with, again, taking over the Hellfire Club and ruling in that regard. So between having him there and Tessa there as well, who's sitting, as you can see, right next to her, all these evil plans in place that he's about to go down. Rain clearly sees, like, so I got to do something about this. I really could use some help. But then here's some people in the bushes and realizes that some of her team is there that's coming out from the forest. So they start to communicate a little bit. It looks like through the mind as they're kind of they're talking back and forth. And then things kind of get messed up again, or distractions happen as sure enough, Sam comes exploding through yet again. He's got to work on this. Hence the cannonball, right? Fits very well. And so much so that he goes shooting into the side of the wall. Everything explodes. And I'm going to keep going here because as he goes through this wall, takes everything else out. Oh, and I should clarify, at one point, Danny does use her abilities to give fear to him, and it's actually the coal mine coming down on him, which I like that they kind of highlighted that. And I'm going to keep going to one more slide, and then I'll pass it to you guys. We can go back to this, but so he comes all the way back and flying at Roberto here on the other side, him and Shan. Shan ends up kind of taking over, trying to take out some of these guys. A ton of action happening at this point with Shan. It looks like Shan pulled out an AK-47 of her own or something. I actually just noticing that now. Love that for being friends with Moira, right?
Yeah.
And then Roberto ripping out the machine. This looks like me when I'm at work with the printer and I'm just trying to make things work. That's exactly what he's doing, trying to rip this open so that Professor X can kind of get loose from that. And then meanwhile, Rain comes in, bites the arm of Donald Pierce, but didn't know that he was a robot, and she actually gets hurt from that. He kicks her and kind of throws her off to the side. She gets really beaten up here at this point and is not in good shape. And then meanwhile, Danny comes in. She's trying to use her abilities based on this stuff, but it seems to not be working, at least not at the moment, because it's not affecting him for the way his mind is, as he's half robot. And he just kind of laughs there. And Professor X, all he can do is try to talk Rain into giving everything that she can to hit this button. And before I go any further, I want to jump into a couple of things I went through. So John, you're shaking your head. What are your thoughts here on some of the stuff that we just went through?
It's classic comic stuff. You've got the villain who won't stop monologuing. Let the villain talk when they're in that phase. Just let him talk. He's laughing, he's monologuing, just let him do his stuff.
Yep.
And then you've got the heroes, the young kids who are like, I don't know how this power works. I'm exhausted. I'm front. Let me just pick up this gun and start mowing these guys down. You know,
right.
I'm gonna pop a cap in the blonde boy who seems to keep crashing into us. I love it. I love a lot of the energy. And same with Rain, just like, I'm gonna bite this guy. Like, I don't have any other skills. I'm gonna bite him. This guy is annoying. He dresses horribly, and he's got Xavier strapped to a chair. I'm gonna bite him. I think it's very like apropos of young kids in action and classic comic villains in action. It all works for me, and I think it's kind of enjoyable, cliched fun.
Yep. Yeah, no, you make a great point there. It's almost like, Rugrats running around here with everything that's going on. Albert, what about you? What kind of vibes did you get as we're getting into, again, even more action as things continue to pick up?
You know, I associate these characters, the ones that are the goons, as just like disposable, right? Like they're just like, they're not real people, right? Like just blast through them. So, and I love the flip in the colors for this one. Just I forgot to mention them before. So they're like more advanced maybe now. They're like a higher tier of villain.
I
don't know. No, I love it. I mean, I this is just fun action. This is what you read an X-Men comic for. You want to, or a mutants comic book for, I guess. You know, you want to see the action, you want to see the failures, and the like, oh my god, he's a robot. like you know, this is just fun. I think this is a fun part of the book.
I'm totally with you, and I'm gonna turn to the next page here because this is probably one of my favorite moments is on this next panel. So I'm gonna go to it here. During this time, so finally, Professor X says, yes, like, just I know it's killing you, but I'm going to, you know, he's communicated, just please do whatever you can, hit this button so I can get free and do what I need to do. She just barely reaches it. Meanwhile, we get Cannonball again crashing through, flying right over Roberto. He gets, or he flies through, hits Roberto. Sorry, has him go flying. And then meanwhile, Donald Pierce is like, all right, he stands up, he's got everything under control. He takes out Shan, zaps her, you know, he's got all these tricks. And then Sam Guthrie's like, sir, what do I do? He's like, all right, you know, tells him, you know, we're going to kill all these people. And Sam's like, wait, am I going to take him to the sheriff? Do we bring him downtown? What do we do? And he's like, what? No, fool, you're going to kill him. And
he's like, wait, am I the bad guy? Are we the bad guys?
And this whole time, on this? I just love that Sam this whole time mentally is just like, all right, we're going to get him, and then we're going to send him to the sheriff's department. Like, you know, like that is where his mind is this entire time. And it was just so innocent, you know, of him. And again, just kind of brings you right back into the reminder, as John, as you're highlighting, they're kids. They're just kids. And they're, you know, this is what their minds think of and where they're at right now with the experiences or the lack of experiences that they have in life. So it's very realistic, I think, in that regard of just like Sam being like, all right, can't wait till people come, you know, arrest these guys, you know, and that's not the case at all. Meanwhile, we do have, he says very well, he's going to kill him himself. He's going to take all of them out. And Sam tries to actually attack when he does realize that Pierce is the bad guy, but he's like shot. And that in itself also, you know, kind of shows that he does have limits. He can get tired. And so he can't do anything about it. And then he pulls a gun out on Sam. Donald Pierce goes to pull the trigger, and then nothing happens. And of course, that's when Professor X, the experienced one, comes in finally, thanks to Rain, who was able to turn the machine off in time and take over him, you know, shooting. So of course, I thought this GIF was just perfect for everything that was kind of going on with guns being held to heads and random things like that. And of course, the dress up that they have. And then I think other than that, they do have a little discussion there in the top corner, trying to figure out, now that they've calmed everything down, they stopped everything, what's going on. They want to get him into authorities, but there's so many things going on because Rain is injured. She needs to be hospitalized or taken care of, and Professor X can't juggle everything at once. So Tessa says, let me take him back and we'll handle it our style, which is not ideal, not the way Professor X wanted it to go, but he's just so busy that he can't. He's like, I guess so, yeah, do what you got to do. We need to save Rain. So yeah, a lot going on here. So Albert, I'm going to pass it to you first this time around. What'd you think of the innocence of Sam Guthrie and what he thought with Donald Pierce's plan?
I mean, we knew it was going to come eventually, right?
Yeah.
We were like, this guy's, you know, beating everybody up. He's got to eventually like realize, like, yeah, he's messing up.
Yeah.
I thought this part was like, all right, so it was the big reveal of like how he kind of shifts. And I thought the most powerful part is Xavier saves the day. And that's kind of like, I mean, it has to be, it's an important part because now everybody's loyal to him, right? There has to be a reason why they're like, okay, this is the guy who I trust now. Like he knows the game. We're kind of like obliged to him because he's, all that stuff. So, but I thought this part was, definitely the best part of the story. But also, the fact that Xavier was able to do it, the guy on the wheelchair is still got his game. It's an important part.
True, very true. Yeah. John, before I pass to you, I want to say a quick hello to our good friend Station Fable, hanging out in the chat. We also got our good friend Bobby Delgado, who was just on with us last week. Station to you, Bobby. Good to see you as well. Appreciate you guys swinging by here. So yeah, John, anything to add here with some of the madness that's been going on as we close out this issue here?
No, this is, I think, the nice bit for Sam. You kind of get to see how did he get here? They cut that bit out of the story, and I think it makes for a little bit more drama with him. And I think the reveal of him questioning all of this is wonderful. And then, to Albert's point, the only veteran, soldier you could argue in the room on the hero side is Xavier. So he knows I got to push the pieces just right so that I can get into action here. And he does. He comes back in a big way and does something he's not prone to do, which is to completely take over someone's mind. But in this instance, he knows that's the only way to keep everybody safe.
Yeah. No, great point. Well, let's go into this next page here. Looks like I kind of screws everything. So on this left side, we see again Tessa already having the idea. She ends up taking Donald Pierce off for himself. Or for herself to kind of handle things the way that Hellfire Club would handle things. Meanwhile, Sam is realizing everything. He kind of was on the wrong side. Berto gives him a hard time about it. He is not as forgiving as the others. And they leave Sam. I mean, Sam's it's pretty bummed moment there as you see the rest of the team. They're like, we got to go because they have to save Rain, right? She is not in good condition, even though her vitals were okay. They just needed to get her out of there ASAP. So that was kind of how that action scene ended, and then it goes into the epilogue here, which I loved. I loved this moment, seeing the teams. First of all, that picture of the old X-Men team, the new X-Men team up on the wall. And Professor X saying it is time, and he calls attention to the students the same way he's always done throughout the X-Men issues or series that we've read in the past, and he reaches out to each one, and as he does, the camera or the panels kind of pan over to each of them getting ready in their own way, kind of their minds being in a certain area of kind of where they prioritize things most, because I know that Berto's like checking himself out. He likes the new suit and everything else. Danny's kind of questioning a lot going on with what happened, her helping saving Rain rather than avenge her grandfather. So she's still kind of questioning, did she do the right thing? Rain loves the new suit. She's able to actually transform and then transform back and not just be naked. She actually can wear, have clothes on that she's wearing. And then as they're all there in that group picture, as they all stand there, I like that there was a bit there with Danny talking about how she changed her belt to represent herself, even though it's they're all kind of being asked to look similar, dress similar, and she's like, look, I need to be me. I need to have a part of me that represents me, my culture, what I believe in. If I am going to be part of this team, I need to be able to do that. And of course, Professor X not only allows it, but appreciates that she is willing, that she stands her ground on this for the beliefs that she has. So that is how it kind of closes out. And then of course we get the bell ringing, the doorbell ring, and Rain goes, and it is Sam. Sam joins the team at the very end there, glad to see as the rest of the team Berto kind of backs off. They shake hands about it, and it kind of is a happy ending to what is really not an ending at all. It's really the beginning of the New Mutants as a whole, as a team. So a lot of mixed emotions here, but I think it was really well done. John, I want to get your thoughts. What do you want to say about kind of seeing these moments, the pictures on the wall? It's really a more almost Professor X moment more than anything else, of just his memories of what he's done so many times over, and now he's starting with a new team.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love that panel is easily my favorite, the one with the two teams, and now him considering the third. I think it summarizes all of what we're doing here, right? The function of a school is to always be teaching new generations, right?
Yeah,
that's the goal. And he's certainly training soldiers, but he's trying to create quality human beings that represent mutants well out in the world. And that's the bigger challenge, the larger task at hand. So I like the gravity of that.
Yeah.
Unnecessary teenage nudity. What the heck, man? Like, I don't even know the function of that moment with Danny. Like, why is she topless in that scene? Like, here's the weirder part about that, gang. If you look closely, the piece that she's holding has a crotch, meaning like she put the pieces on in the wrong order. She's gonna have to take the pants off, put that piece back on again.
Oh yeah, it's a good.
Yeah. I don't even know how this whole gig works. Like, it's just the pieces don't go together, gang. I don't even know what's going on. But yes, I do love that she is making a statement. I'm not just gonna be a drone for Professor Xavier the same way those other guys were drones for the Hellfire Club. I am not a drone, and I'm going to represent myself right here with whether it's a simple piece of belt clothing that I'm going to add to this, or just stating the fact that yes, I'm a student and I want to be given information, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to walk in step with everything you tell me from this point forward. I will think for myself, which I value a ton.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Well said. Albert, what did you think of kind of how this issue ended here?
No, I thought it ended in a solid way. John, your point about the nudity part, I didn't even think twice about it, but now it's like bothering me.
It does. It's like, why isn't it Roberto?
Yeah.
Why isn't it Bert? Why isn't she holding the belt and looking at the belt with the X on it? Like, I don't want to wear this.
But again, the math of the shirts, like it just doesn't compute. But it was a decision. Yeah. And multiple people saw this and they were like, yeah, that's fine. Good.
That's good. That's good. It's 1980, whatever. We're good.
Yeah. Wow. I'm like, no, this was a great ending. I like that panel with the silent panel where they close the door on him. I think that was a really powerful part too. And again, on these big pages, it really like hits even harder. I mean, just like the classic image of them in that room. That's the iconic room where they showcase it. So you get all those nostalgic feelings reading it. And again, it feels like a reward for anybody who's a fan of X-Men.
Yeah. Well said. Well, I before we get into some of the numbers and everything, of course, I want to get your guys' kind of final thoughts on the issue itself and how you would grade it. So, John, start with you here. Just as a whole, where does this fall for you on a grade from a CGC grade, the way we do it here, and anything to add on just the issue as a whole?
I mean, it's an incredibly good read and yet another banger Marvel graphic novel, and one that I think any X-Men fan needs in their collection. It's just a great piece of lore from the X-Men universe. Easily, I'm going to say 9.6. This is a 9.6 all day for me. It's just a really entertaining read and a great launch for this amazing new series. Like a great way to say, look, here's this new, it is that giant size X-Men book to launch an ongoing title with this great cast of unusual characters. So yeah, this is a 9.6 for me.
Love it. Albert, what about you? Where does this stand on your grading system, and any final thoughts here on the issue overall?
Yeah. So a 9.6, the only way I go 9.4 and higher is if I cry. I have to cry. Sure. I didn't cry in this one that much.
Okay.
So, but I almost did. So I'll say 9.2. No, I honestly, I enjoyed this way more than I thought I was. I think Chris Claremont's the kind of writer where like he can be very verbose. He can go a lot, but there were some parts where it just flowed really well. And like the way you introduce the characters, the way they work together, it's a comic book, a classic superhero story. You know how it's going to end. There's certain parts of it are just like classic storytelling methods that are just like the reason why it's a cycle. So there's parts where you're not really surprised, but at the same time, it's super satisfying to get a story with like, interesting characters, diverse characters from different backgrounds, all coming together and having to deal with Xavier. And you get the sense of like, man, I am curious about the whole purpose of this is to set up for a future run. And I think that they did it perfectly. So I'll say 9.2.
Very well said. Yeah, I am with you guys fully. I think I'll be the one to split the difference and call it a 9.4 on my end. I'm with you though. I mean, I think it does the absolute. Just a great job on the setup of what this whole purpose is, bringing this team together, introducing these characters, and in a subtle way. Yes, there's going to be a ton more things we want to learn about them, but I think it does a really good job with the limited space that it has per character to kind of give you at least a setup of the emotions that they're feeling, some of the experiences that they've recently gone through or are currently facing, whether it's from the public or their own personal family matters or their own beliefs, things of that nature. So I think it does a really good job there. Really enjoyed the artwork. Again, very different and coming from Bob McLeod, and this is my first real experience with learning or reading, seeing some of his artwork from this. So I appreciate it for that, and obviously just the heavier tones that are involved with this. It's not just fluff that these kids are dealing with. This is some real life stuff, some hard hitting stuff. So I appreciate it for that. I see a 9.8 from Bobby, says it's got so much potential. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. So yeah, really with you guys, I'll throw the 9.4. So all right, let's keep it going here. I know we're in the hour and 25-minute mark. We appreciate everybody that's hanging. I do have some of the numbers, so I want to highlight some of that stuff here. Of course, I gotta throw Austin Powers in there one more time. But yes, key elements. First team appearance of the team there. Later, you have they had her name as Psyche. Later known as Mirage, but that's Danny Moonstar, Wolfsbane, Sunspot, Karma. I had put 4 times reprinted. Clearly very wrong with that. So that should actually be. Does anyone know the actual number? How many times this was reprinted, or is there?
I don't. I mean, at least 6. I mean, I thought it was more than that, but
yeah, mine is 6. And if I find out that there's like a 12, I might go hunting for that one.
Oh, dude, yeah, you got it.
I intentionally bought a lower printing so that I can like go all the way and like push into this.
Yeah,
and love it aggressively.
Yeah. So, I think Chet's not here right now. He'd be
and to cut it. No, I'm not.
Yeah, they did. I think not too long ago do a reprint. I want to say this because they did God Loves Man Kills as well. But they shrunk it down. It was no longer the larger size format. It was the smaller comic size.
Yeah. If I find it, you guys know, we'll tag you.
Yeah, tag us. Hey, so a 9.8, and again, these numbers are from Go Collect. Anybody wondering? These are CGC numbers here from Go Collect with a fair market value. This 9.8 went for $575 across the board. They had a 306 on the census as a whole for CGC, and definitely drops. It's about 2.5 times. 9.8 versus the 9.6 being $200. Even there. Again, that's her first print. So just keep that, keep that in mind. If you are looking out there for a specific print, I know it's on the inside is where, the others are numbered and so on and so forth. So be careful what you're buying. If you are buying raw copies, or even just, make sure you're reading the labels properly if you are looking for a particular one. But any thoughts here with the numbers here, John or Albert, if you guys want to throw anything out there?
I mean, a ton of first appearances, and yeah, Broke Boy, they're all first, like, Wolfsbane, Sunspot, Karma, Cannonball. It should be on that list as well. Yeah. A ton of characters' first appearances. So obviously, value for collectors is probably in that range because of those things. But obviously, the launch of an ongoing series in some ways, I think that's also a big point. Jackson Roy Kirk always dropping great information. I totally agree.
Yep.
This is an example of putting your mind in that late Bronze Age, early modern age kind of thinking and getting something out of how I don't want to say boundary pushing Claremont was, but certainly what a great mind he had for team comic books and how to assemble a diverse group of characters without having like all of them be like the same note, hitting the same personality notes. I think this definitely gives me an excited vibe for where will this go.
Yeah.
No, so I think for a 9.8, a $500 book, this is a pretty good price. I mean, I think like this, especially if you are a fan of the title, because I'm imagining the average collector is not really going for this unless they've read the series and is like familiar with the characters, right? So like me personally, I'm not super into it, so I probably would never even think to buy a high graded one. But I know that if I plan, I'm going to be following you guys, so I plan on reading the whole series. And then I might be, if I love it and I find deep connection, then I might be going for a high grade. I usually don't even. I'm not a big fan of CGC, like encapsulating them forever. I'd rather just get a really good condition book. But if it's a 9A, then it's like an investment piece. You know,
sure.
So I'm surprised. It seems very attainable.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and for this, especially at the time that this came out. Yeah, I agree.
And there's other 9/8s if you want other graphic novels with the black border. If you like, this is a what printing was this one? This is a 5th printing signed.
Is it Chris?
Yeah, on the inside cover.
Oh, nice,
man, it's so cool. Okay, so man. You just flexing on everybody right now.
That was just for you, Albert.
I love that.
Here's the bitch of it. I can't store this sucker anywhere. I'm able to grab this so easily. It's way bigger than any beast.
So true.
Yeah.
I just slide it between 2 other boxes behind me. It's always right here.
Albert's like, who's laughing now? That's right.
I only have 2 CGC books, and they're signed by George Perez. And
nice.
Before he passed, which I was like,
sure.
But it's the same way. It's fucking massive. It's the Kung Fu book.
Yeah, the magazine sizes are ridiculous.
Yeah,
where do I put these things?
But yeah, Ryan's dropping 6 printings for this book total.
Yes, yeah.
And
so I got the last one.
There's 8 from God Loves Man Kills, so I'm a few off of the final run for the God Loves too. So
okay, nice. Yeah, I imagine they're gonna reprint this again though, right? As a how they're doing all the
I think they've done it because they did a whole run with God Loves Man Kills as like smaller sized novel. You can get those and they're nice quality paper, but they're like comic size, not the graphic novel size.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, well, there you have it. Those are the numbers. Don't go away. We have questions before we wrap things up. So again, I want to thanks everybody in the chat. Albert, appreciate you, brother, for doing this and this breakdown. Stick around. We got some questions here. Let me remove this real quick here. All right. So again, reminding everybody that the goal here is we're gonna have 4 trivia questions right now, all based on last episode and last issue. If you know the answer, write it out there. Even if you see someone else writing it, type it out there anyways, because you do have a chance. We're looking for 2 people that answer it correctly first. We'll get their names added to the list. John has the list, which we will add to a prize wheel at the end of the season for you to win potential prizes that we do a ton of giveaways for, including we're going to be doing Rosko from Geek Out Rosko's artwork that he's working on this season for us, our featured artist. Again, shout out to Rosko's, links in the description below. Check out his work. So yeah, we're looking for some correct answers. And if you don't know, either 1, copy and paste some people who are answering it correctly, or 2, you can still get a name if you can make Albert laugh. So whoever is the most entertaining or funniest incorrect, wrong answer that will make Albert laugh the most. Albert, you'll be the one to judge and choose one of the funniest or most incorrect answers per question. So, John, I'm going to send it to you first to kick it off.
Yeah, last week we were talking about Marvel Team Up 100. 2 stories going on there. Obviously, the function in the graphic in the omnibus is that it's Karma's first appearance going on with that storyline. Spider-Man loses control, right? She takes control of his mind, lots of shenanigans occurring. But when Spidey finally breaks free and regains his consciousness, what is the first thing that happens to him immediately after he's back to normal? He's Peter Parker again. And then what happens? So there's a nice little moment there after Peter is normal again, normalized, rescued from the grips of karma.
Yep.
Keep in mind, I thought of funny things.
Good. That's the hope. You try to pick open-ended questions that go a lot of ways.
Good one. Yeah.
It's a layup here. A lot of things you could say. Keep in mind too, folks, that there were a lot of characters in last episode. So
yep.
Not your typical Omni X-Men style kickoff as far as X-Men goes.
Right.
Let's see. We do see some comments coming in here.
Candace.
Oh god, you remember Spidey 3? Yeah,
that's the stuff of nightmares right there. The dance. He remembers the dance sequence. Right?
Bobby says he wonders what happens to his pants.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Lasso, he cuts out comic books to make an amazing journal in the style of Albert. Yes, playing to his judge there.
He knows.
That's right.
I will say there's one perfectly correct answer.
Okay.
One kind of answer. I'm just waiting for someone to copy and paste and crush that second place right there.
Okay. All right. Well, there it is. It's kind of a hint out there. Or we're looking for any other funny ones if you guys.
Or another funny one. Yeah. So far, some options are floating around.
Yeah. Give it another few seconds.
All right. I'm going to accept Adam and Lasso.
Okay. So
I wanted you to include Ben. Like, I even had a gif of it's clobbering time because it's finally the moment when Ben gets to let loose and knocks the stuffing out of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So I wanted Ben Grimm to be mentioned. So those are the two I'm gonna hook up.
That's fair. Conlon says Mr. Fantastic gives him a cup of tea and then gives him the tea.
And that's accurate after the clobbering.
Yeah.
After the clobbering of it's clobbering time is like tea time. So and double tea, all the tea.
Yep. Ryan says Diana Ross concert. Yep. Can never go wrong with that answer. Albert, any of them here that stands out?
So I do have a person in the chat who makes me laugh all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm in it, Bobby says what happened with his pants. I actually laughed really hard just like when I read that. I was like, Bobby. That's so funny. Like if he looks out and he's like, what the fuck?
It's so frustrating.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Bobby Delgado on the board for tonight.
He just jumped on the board. His first entry. Bobby was one of the top vote getters last time. Also, you guys got a great shot tonight. No JP and no Chet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Lots of opportunities in this chat tonight. You better get in there.
Great point. All right. My first question goes to this one here. How did Storm defeat the evil robot in the backstory of last issue? Now, remember, folks, we did do Marvel Team Up issue 100, but if you read all the way through, that actually has a backup story to it that brought Storm into play. How did Storm defeat the evil robot in the backstory of last issue?
Yep.
I'll accept a few different wordings, but
I forced you all to read the entire issue and not just the Karma storyline because I bought that book for Storm and Black Panther. That's why you buy that book. It's the first meeting of Storm and T'Challa.
That's right.
Karma's fine. No shaming Karma, but that's a Storm and Black Panther backup story. Like that's gold.
Yeah, that was the core story for John. The other one was a little intro. That was a little intro
I didn't realize there was another first appearance in there, and that came up later. So
you went right to the back.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ryan says she told dad jokes and it laughed to death. The robot laughed to death. Yeah,
that's not possible.
Let's see. She made it calculate pi to the last place, and it just died. Just couldn't handle it. Yeah. I do see a couple of correct answers. I'm gonna highlight those before I go through more of the funny ones. Bobby, correct first. She blasted a hole into the floor. Yep, she was using like a lightning bolt. The other one I saw was
Ryan.
I think Ryan. Yeah. Yep. Colossus Collector blasted a hole in the floor. Absolutely correct. So those two, Bobby and Colossus Collector, you guys get the points tonight.
I see a D&D fan right under that one too. That's cracking me up.
Let's see this one here. Cast lightning bolt. That's how her power works, right? She's a wizard.
She rolled a crit on that one. She critically succeeded there and just absolutely dropped the bomb.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Noah says the man behind the machine was so excited he died. I mean, to a degree, that's not
inaccurate.
Yeah, not too far off. She was so fine, the robot started crying and got rusty.
I'm not the voter, Bobby, but I don't disagree.
Candace said she flashed him a winning smile. Yes, there you go. Very nice, Candace. Very nice. Anything in particular here?
Okay, I got one. So I teach kids how to code. So Adam Makes Stuff has a coding joke in there. She made it calculate pi last place. There you go.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, it's still going. The computer is still going.
Playing to his audience here. Yeah. All right, John, what's your next one up?
Justin mentioned lots of guest stars last issue. Reed Richard really doing a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of calculations and machine building and such. Who is the important character who assists Reed Richards in the machine that he creates? Because there's an important cameo somebody steps up their game to assist Reed in the machine he's creating. Yes, this is the machine that helps him track down Karma, right? So who is it? Cameos galore.
Yeah, there were a lot of them.
Yep,
there were a lot of them. I already see. How are you gonna grade this one, John? Curious.
I'm spelling matters. So I'm sorry, bro. I feel like I've hit Broke Boy twice tonight. Like Chet. You're taking the Chet hit there, buddy. I'm sorry about that. I'll go
brutal.
Conlon and Bobby.
Brutal.
It was Xavier. It was Rachel Dinners. No.
Xavier. And so Bobby and Conlon there. All right.
I love that Jackson chose to get to miss out on the correct answer just so that he could add
who is still a jerk.
Parentheses who is still a jerk, close parentheses. That extra time cost him the point, but he was like worth it.
Ryan with the Rachel Dinners, always got to throw that one in there. Bobby straight up that jerk Professor X. Elon Musk was the other answer from Bobby. The Vanisher.
Oh my god!
Adam says here.
Bobby's
on fire indeed. Yeah, sorry, Noah.
3 questions, 3 points.
We're gonna get you in here soon.
We'll get you.
We've been.
All right, I'm gonna pick Jackson Roy Kirk, who's
took the time.
A jerk.
He took the time. He took the time to write the truth.
Yeah.
That is Jackson's first point.
Oh, nice.
Hooking him up.
There it is.
Noah says, obviously still working on my Marvel. You're doing great. Man. All right. Last question here from me. I have, why did Shan think Spider-Man was a villain? Last issue, she had it kind of mixed around, thought that Spider-Man was actually indeed a villain, but there was a purpose for that. There was an explanation for why she thought that, and I'll accept certain answers that kind of hit around what I have typed out here, what I had texted John earlier. So do your best, try to be as specific as you can, but I will be a bit lenient for this.
You'll be friendly about it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Roker says, wait, who's a jerk? Albert? No, Albert's not a jerk. All right, let's see. I do see I'm gonna give these as correct answers. So I was okay with seeing Daily Bugle just in general. So I am gonna go with Ryan here, Magic Lasso, for the first one, and Noah on the board. Daily
Bugle.
It is the newspaper. Yes. Yeah. So it was plastered on the wall, and it said that he was a menace, Spider-Man menace. And she immediately was like, "Okay, there's a villain. Let's use this villain and take control over Spider-Man, and try to get my family back." That was her game plan last issue. So there it is. 2 correct choices, and Noah, congrats, you're on the board, brother. I know there'll be plenty more, I'm sure. Let's look for some funny answers here. I do see Bobby. Too much fake news. Too much fake news. Yeah, it's out there. Yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson always pushing that.
Yeah, the JJJ commentaries. That's right. Collins says, because he is a menace.
And I want my pictures of Spider-Man.
People that wear masks are misunderstood. I mean, these are facts. Candace says he was wearing his black suit since his regular suit was in the wash. Yeah, it was too busy being in the wash.
Yep.
Let's see, witnessing. Rurkick says, I thought he was saying I was a jerk.
No.
It
could be. It goes either way.
Maybe. Witnessed his dancing, Conlon said, and yeah, she knew he was bad news from the dancing from Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah. Noah's on the board. She was watching Geraldo
back in the day. That's old school Lasso. Lasso always taking it back to the 80s and 90s.
Never saw Geraldo. Never saw it.
It's Geraldo.
Geraldo. See? There you go. That's
that's
how you know.
He works at Fox News now, or did work at Fox News. I think
he's the mustache guy, right?
Yep. There it is. See? He famously opened Al Capone's safe live as like a huge event, and there was nothing in it. It's like nothing. He did this huge event. I'm gonna open the Al Capone safe. We're gonna find all this evidence and stuff. There was just Jack.
He didn't do it ahead of time.
Nope. It was live.
Father Bowen made her do it. That's right. Father Bowen. He was there. Shifty eyes. Anything here, Albert, that stands out to you?
Yeah. Conlon Comics. witness Spider-Man's dancing.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. Spider-Man 3 brought up several times here tonight. Yeah. All right, there you go. Stevie on the board. All right. I think I want to see. Mike said it was like 2 empty soup cans. Oh, brutal. All right. Well, that'll do it, folks. Again, I know, sorry, these are going to be a bit longer issues. We kind of warned everybody these episodes because these are a little bit lengthier, but we have a ton more to do. So, of course, going to be on John's channel next Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern. Make sure you are subbed up to his channel and ready to go. We'll have our guests. And then, of course, Albert, want to thank you, brother, for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you. We appreciate your support on the show. Of course, just YouTube and being part of this community and everything that you do. And I love that you take on this hobby the way you do. You're so passionate for it. Can't wait to hang out with you this weekend. I'll see you at New York City Comic-Con. Anyone else is going to be there, Albert and I will both be there. But Albert, just want to thank you, man, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I love being here. I love you guys. I love what you do as ambassadors for this industry, for the hobby. I want to remind you guys that your show is the first like touch of comic book community that I ever had. Online.
Wow.
Yeah, so Justin, I remember I posted a picture of me getting a comic book, X-Men comic book, and then Justin was like, "Hey, I see that you like this. We're doing a weekly show. You should jump in." And then I saw all these people in the comment section who are still there. So like that was before cool, I did any like reels or videos or anything. So I really meant it. Like, you guys are my favorite. I love what you're doing. It's a commitment, and it's nothing but positivity and joy. So really love what you guys are doing.
That's amazing, dude.
That means a ton, man.
Yes.
That made my day for sure.
Right back at you, man. Hey, you know what caught my attention? You're a reader, bro. You're into it. You love the passion. I'm like, you'd be perfect for this channel. You'd be perfect for this show, man. You dive in. You actually enjoy and read it. So yeah, we appreciate you, man, and everybody here in the chat showing some love to Albert. Roy Kirk did ask, what's the next issue? It is issue number 1
and 2.
1
and 2. We're doing 2 issues next week.
Yeah.
A lot of the episodes this season, because this omnibus is such a big boy. This is a beastly book, and we want to get through it in a timely manner. We're going to double up a bunch of issues through the season. Chet is joining us, and we're going to be doing issues 1 and 2. So you get your first Danger Room stuff, you get your first Sentinel stuff. We're just cramming it all in those first 2 issues. All the X-Men tropes.
It's great. It's fantastic. Yes, and as we said before, these will be a bit longer. We might jump through some things. So people in the chat, if there is a moment that you want to highlight or talk about, and if it's possible we skip it, just have it ready to go, throw it in the chat at some point, and we'll talk about it. But we do want to try to keep these somewhat efficiently in under 2 hours for sure. I don't want John passing out on us here from not eating dinner beforehand, or me having too much to drink.
I was gonna say, I drink and don't eat. It's not
a good combo. Yeah,
it really could take a turn.
So definitely, guys, when you do your homework, you do your readings, definitely take some notes if there's anything that you want us to highlight. So but again, we appreciate everybody for the support. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you are subbed up to these gentlemen here. We'll be back next Tuesday on John's channel. So until next time, we will talk to you later. Peace. Go Yankees.